Thank you. Have you ever had a passion that pulled you forward in a way that you couldn't explain? My passion is working with older adults. I love hanging out with people in their 80s, 90s, and 100s. And I'll tell you where that came from. Growing up, I lived in a multi-generational home, and my grandmothers were my best friends. One grandmother was born in England, and she was raised on Philadelphia's main line. She was a sophisticated beauty queen who'd serve tea in the formal living room and asked me questions about current events and the books I was reading. Now, the other grandmother was a church secretary from Jackson, Mississippi, and she was as wide as she was tall. And we'd cuddle up on the couch together, and we'd watch soap operas, and we'd talk about the drama of my young life. Her tea was sweet tea, which was basically sugar water with a little tea stirred in. Now, these vastly different women had one interesting thing in common. Both were tragically widowed in their 50s and forced to recreate their lives. And they did so, living magnificent lives well into their 90s. And what I didn't know at the time is that they were laying a foundation for my future in a way that I could not have possibly imagined. Now, as a young college student, my grandmothers encouraged me to go for my dreams. So I did. I wanted to be in the fashion business. And so I worked for 20 years in all different aspects of fashion marketing. And it was really fantastic, a dream come true. Eventually, I landed with a company where I had an office in LA and a showroom in New York. We opened 100 stores around the United States and 40 markets around the world. Literally, it was a dream come true. But after a series of layoffs at my company, my name was called, and then I found myself, just like my grandmothers, forced to recreate my life. Now, at the time, my grandmothers had both died, as well as my parents, and I was volunteering for a local hospice as a way to give back to the people who so freely gave to my family. And there was also a friend who was encouraging me to pursue senior care and senior living as a career. Now, I didn't know that was possible because I thought it was just for nurses. But I did my investigation, and I called on my grandmother's resilient spirits, and I dove headfirst into this brand new career that I didn't know anything about. And in my research, I found that there's over 700 million people globally that are over the age of 65. 500,000 of those people are over the age of 100. And here in the United States, we have 10,000 people every single day that are turning 65, and by 2050, we will have 1 in every 5 people, 20% of our population will be over the age of 65. So, I was a trendsetter then, now I'm a trendsetter now. And what's interesting is that I found this love and this passion, and this is what I was seeking. This is really what I needed. And so, as I was diving into the senior care industry, I worked in every aspect of the industry, from assisted living, all the way from hospice, from home care, and really was able to pursue and learn this industry from the ground up. And in my career, I've had a privilege of working with over 1,000 older adults. And what's interesting is there are some people that are doing a great job with their longevity. You know, what we have is people are retiring at 65, but they're now living 1, 2, 3, and sometimes 4 decades longer. And some people are doing a great job with it, but other people are really struggling. There's sort of this ambiguity about who am I supposed to be and what am I supposed to do in this time frame? And you hear people say things like, I don't know why I'm still here. And as our Southern friends would say, I don't know why the good Lord hasn't taken me yet. And what happens is they'll stop living well before their life is over. And it's as if modern medicine and health education have created this new age stage that is yet to be defined. And so in my work with older adults, I've been able to support people and their families during this time frame. And I don't see them as little old ladies or little old men. I see them as social pioneers, that they're trailblazing this way for us that has never existed in human history. And this inspires me in every aspect of my life. And what I've learned from them are 6 really important principles that I'd like to share with you today. And the first of those is purpose. We have to have a purpose. As human beings, every bit of us wants to be a beneficial presence in the planet. We want to know that our very beingness matters. And I have a client named Art, and he moved in reluctantly, very reluctantly, into senior living with his wife, and soon after, she died. And here was Art stuck in the place that he never wanted to be, and he realized that he needed to find a purpose or else. And this guy decided that he was going to be a part of the landscaping crew. And so he took on in his scooter, and he took on all the landscaping guys, and he provided beauty for all who walk the gardens. The next principle is attitude, a positive and optimistic attitude about life. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches people to rewire their brains. So a grumpy old man doesn't have to stay that way unless he wants to, and he has that right, doesn't he? So in rewiring our brains, we can actually, through meditation and positive imaging and future forecasting, we can rewire the neuropathways of our brain. And so as I was looking at senior care and senior living as a career, I started to think about how I would want to be treated as an older adult. And the one thing is I never wanted to be marginalized or patronized as this little old lady and to have people bend over and say, "How you doing, sweetie?" Right? Ugh. It's like I'm an adult. And I started to envision what I wanted to be. And I like to think that I'm a cool, hip chick, and I still am going to be a cool, hip chick no matter what age I am, right? And I even came up with a name for myself. I called myself a goldenista, a fashionista in my golden years. And I like that. And it's taken on this whole sort of image of who I want to be. It gives me something to aspire to instead of something to dread. This is that principle of attitude. And the next is lifelong learning. Some people believe that the day that we stop learning is the day that we start dying. And I'm committed to living every day to the absolute fullest. I had another client, her name was Thelma, and she chose her senior living community based on its proximity to the university that had an adult living program. And she was a smart cookie. She even negotiated free transportation to and from each one of her classes multiple times per week, because she knew that feeding her mind was feeding her soul and would feed her longevity. And the next is advocacy, self-advocacy. In order to live a good life, you gotta wanna live a good life, and you have to fight for your right to live a good life as well. I spoke at an industry conference earlier this year, and I started off with the Beastie Boys. And I was like, you've gotta fight for your right to party, right? And we have older adults that are living in their homes and living in communities, and they're wanting to live their full lives. And it's our obligation to support them in doing so the best way that we possibly can. And so after advocacy is community. As people, we need people. We need each other, even the most introverted of us. And there's something really beautiful that's happening in the senior living industry. We have amazing innovators that are doing incredible work. One of my mentors is a woman named Jill Vitale Awesome, and she's actually created a beautiful community. She runs a regional senior living organization, and her residents are resident citizens. And these citizens are involved in every part of the decision-making of their organization. Wouldn't you like to live in a place like that, where you actually had a vote and a say-so? That's what's happening. And for those who don't live in senior living, we only have 2 million people in the United States who do. They're living at home. we need to surround them with all the things that they want to do to live their best life possible. And then the very last thing is health. Who wants to live a long life if you're not going to feel good and you're not going to have a healthy life? The Mayo Clinic did a really groundbreaking study that said that 70% of the quality of our aging is based on our lifestyle choices, what we choose, what we do to ourselves. So when our doctors tell us that we need to eat right and exercise and reduce our stress and get some sleep, they know what they're talking about. Only 30% of the quality of our aging is genetic. So that says that if we want a higher quality of life in our later life, we need to get busy taking care of ourselves today. And I'd be remiss if I did not mention our financial health, our mental health, and our spiritual health. All of those are needed in order to live a really great longevity lifestyle. So it's purpose, an attitude, learning, advocacy, community, and health. And so in our youth-obsessed culture, I'm acutely aware that I'm aging, and I'm glad about that. I'm actually glad to be getting older, because advertisers have taught us that aging is bad and somehow that anti-aging is possible. The only way that anti-aging is possible is if we die. And I kind of like my life right now. And I'm actually pretty proud that I have survived 55 years on the planet. Aren't you proud of yourselves too? It's like life gets tough sometimes. And so with anything that happens in life, we have to ask ourselves, why am I in this position? Why is this happening to me, and what is my role here? And the answer that I got for myself is that I needed to build the community that I craved. Now, what does that mean? That's when I'm an older adult, I want to be surrounded with other really cool older adults too. So we actually formed the Goldenista Social Club. And up until now, it's been a secret society, so don't tell anyone. But in this secret society, we're bringing all of our gifts, skills, and talents to each other to help brainstorm what later life will look like. And so I'm going to leave you with three things here today. The first of those is to take the principles and really take some intentional time for yourself and look and see how you're doing, right? To use today as a checkpoint in your life. And then really see what is it that you can do or change in order to set yourself up in a way that your future self is going to thank you. And the last thing that I'll leave you with is go hug your grandma. You know, go hug your grandma or any older adult in your life. Let them know that you need them as much as they need you. And even in the midst of your busy life, that you will take time to make sure that they know that they're important, valued, and valuable. And I'll leave you with one last thing. You're valuable too. Peace and blessings. Thank you.